Vitality is related to the amplitude and the variability of waves or what HRV and all the stuff we have inside the body. And then it's also related not only to the amplitude and variability, but also the quality, which leads to coherence and of all the waves inside the body. And so Dan says harmonic inclusiveness, relationship, interaction, and you will see. In fact, first of all, to the amplitude and variability, these are two different records of HRV of two different persons. The first one is a young and healthy person. So you see there is a big amplitude in the HRV and quite a good variability. And the second one is an older person which is not healthy. And you see the HRV is completely flat. This is a 4 minute of recording. Okay? So this is the first point, that normally to be healthy you have to have an amplitude in your waves and also some movement, some variability. And if I take the second example, so the older person, and you see this is the first record, and this is a second record which is done after a small practice trying to induce some variability in this HRV, and you see even after a small practice there is some movement appearing and variability is coming. Well, so this was about amplitude. Now about quality and shape. So what we are looking, if we want to see the quality and the shape, we are looking for some kind of harmony inside. And this harmony will lead us to the word coherence, which was defined by Dan. And this coherence, I will show you, is, and Dan explained it also a lot this morning, is also related to stress. If you don't have coherence, you don't have vitality, and you're going to be stressed. In fact, the body is working like a hologram. You can find on every part of the body, you will find the whole body. So, well, there are little examples, so I think you know all these things. Mm-hmm. And in fact, one example, when you are stressed, everybody knows that your voice is changing. Because you're losing a lot of frequencies in your voice because of the stress. Well, but just example, just to make you understand, there are two different voice analyses. The top one is an older woman, which is fine, which is quite healthy, and you see the spectrum of the voice analysis is quite filled, so close to the blue line. And the second example, it's a young boy which is very stressed because he's in the university and he's passing exams. And you see there are a lot of missing frequencies. Mm-hmm. And in fact, what is very interesting is that there is a relationship between all the frequencies
and the bone structure.
And the different part of the body related to the bone structure, to the big masses of the muscle and things like that. And it's easy to understand because if you want to make a very low frequency sound with a big bell, you will build a big bell, very heavy and bang. And if you want to make a very high frequency sound, it will be a very small bell, very, very thin. Ding, 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 okay? And so this is the same thing in the bone of your body. The big bones are here. Your bones are going smaller and smaller in your back when you go up. And then a very thin bone on your skull. So there is a really beautiful relationship between the different frequency and the different part of the body. And the missing frequency...
Who discovered this or made this?
Tomatis.
Tomatis,
yeah. And when you see there are gaps in there are missing frequency in your voice, you can make the relationship with organs or part of the body. Well, a lot of things to say, or you can also make hearing tests, and and find all this stuff in the same way, because the body is an hologram, so you can find it everywhere. Another way is to show is Korean photography. So this is an healthy person, not stress, and the more you're stressed, the more you lose the emission of light. So you see, this is somebody which is very stressed. And
what exactly is that?
The GDV there has quantized the capacitance distribution of charge of the aura from 10 fingertips, and by accurate acupuncture mapping extrapolated to an aura picture of the whole body. Holes in the aura are bad. And Patrick's point is beautiful, that stress always means harmonic exclusiveness and relaxation means harmonic inclusiveness. The GDV.
In fact, you take a picture, as you find all the whole body everywhere in the body. If you take the picture of the end of the finger, of the 10 fingers, you can feel the picture of the whole body. And all
is that a photograph?
Yeah, you just take a picture of each of your fingers.
Each tip of the finger has correspondence with the organs.
Mm-hmm.
With a part of the body.
The whole around the body.
And you can
with those.
Yeah, let's go on. Okay. So the body is working like a hologram, and the proof that the body is working and like an hologram and everything is linked to everything in the body, that it has been proved that if there are frequencies that your ear cannot get, you cannot reproduce them with your voice. So if there are problems in your ears that don't allow you to catch some frequencies, it's impossible for you to produce them in your voice. This has been proved, it's a long time ago, in 1957. But it's related to the work of Tomatis. If you want, we can talk a little bit tonight or during the dinner. So this is a beautiful link on YouTube, which is done by Dr. Alan Watkins, and I've made a little summary here, just explaining how the whole body is working. So if you want to have an impact on your stress, you have to change your behavior. So if you want to have a result, you would like to change your behavior, but this is the visible part of the iceberg, because your behavior, here is correct. Your behavior is related to what you think. What you think is related to how you feel. How you feel is related to your emotions, and your emotions are related to physiology. So now, if you have an impact, if you make some modification on your physiology, you will go up and you will get a result. But this is one of the most important things, and that's the reason why in sport, Formula 1 drivers, they're mentally thinking about the drive that we will do the next day, and so if you induce some relaxation in your physiology, you will get an impact of everything in your body and also in your mind.
This is our professional area.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're totally with you.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have time, it's about 20 minutes on YouTube. It's a very beautiful presentation. Okay, now let's talk about wave and how we make the analysis of the wave and of the frequency. Well, let's take again this HRV variation, and let's try to produce, to create a wave which looks like the wave of HRV, to understand how we get information from this. So in fact, this wave here in green is composed of 3 different waves. This is one-time unit, so one wave is about 5 cycles per unit of time, the other one is 10, the other one is 20. And the result of all these 3 waves is the green one here. Okay? And if we are using a mathematical analysis, which is called a fast Fourier transform. Well, what we get, in fact, it's a frequency spectrum. And this frequency spectrum, in this frequency spectrum, we will get 3 peaks because we have 3 waves inside. The first peak will be at 5, the second one will be at 10, and the third one will be at 20. So the position of the peak will give us the frequency of the waves, and the size of the peaks will give us the amplitude of the different waves. So you see the biggest one is 5 cycle, and then the lower one is 10, and then between them is 20 here. Let's go back to the discovery of heart coherence from Dan. In fact, Dan was using the raw data, the electrical raw data of the heart, so the pulses. And from these pulses, when he made this kind of analysis I just showed you, he got also peaks. And these peaks, well, that's the way that he showed you this morning. And in fact, when he explained there is some kind of cascade in the peak, and this cascade is very important. Well, let's show it in another way, much simpler than this graph here. So you will see there is some kind of spectrum with different peaks on the spectrum. And in fact, if you are looking for some harmony, some musical ratio in this spectrum, some coherence, that's the word that he used, you have to analyze the relationship between all these peaks. And it's very simple, this relationship between all these peaks. It's related to the relative positions of all the peaks and the relative size of all the peaks. And this can be easily defined by this line in red. And the genius of the analysis of Dan was that he analyzed this red curve going from the top of each of the peaks. And he made the fast Fourier transform of it, so a second order fast Fourier transform that he called Cepstrom. And when he did this, he showed you this morning, a peak. So the second spectrum showed a peak. And this peak, the biggest this peak, the more coherence, so the more you will have a relationship, a beautiful cascade between all the peak presence in the spectrum.
Yes. Yes, in Sweden.
Just another way of saying that would be first of all, the second order power spectrum had been called the cepstrum in the literature before, which is an anagram of spectrum, or as you say, power density. The point is that this second order power spectra looks to see if the peaks of the first order power spectra are spaced in phase, which is called internal coherence. So inherently, if the peaks of the first order power spectra are orderly, then the second order power spectrum has a peak. That's called internal coherence.
Yeah.
Can I ask, it's Morel here.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
So I'm familiar as an engineer with Fourier transforms. So are you saying that, looking at the picture on the top right now, that peak with a couple of shoulders, are you saying the essence of coherence is that you have that beautiful raindrop in the water emanating ripples around the central core?
Actually, no, it's simple. The amplitude of the primary peak of the second order power spectra, that amplitude of that peak, is the internal phase coherence of the first order power spectrum.
So you'd like the majority, it feels a bit like a delta function would feel unhealthy, but you're saying as long as it's smooth but centered up there, that's fine.
Yeah,
As long as the secondary and tertiary ripples are small, it's healthy, but it has to have an organic shape.
That's not our best example of the cepstrum second order power spectrum. What I can tell you is that constant change in the amplitude of the second order power spectrum peak is a beautiful lie detector, and I mean lie detector. If you say I love you and you're telling the truth, it will go up. If you say I love you when you're lying, it will go down, dependably, so much so that you can use it to measure kinesiology.
It's very interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So just to make you understand a lot of the questions that you ask, we can make the relationship with music. You see, if you are playing a single note, let's say a C, and if we create it from a computer with a beautiful sine wave, we will get a single peak frequency. That's what we get if we create a sound with a computer and a perfect sine wave, okay? Which is not what we get in musical instruments. Because musical instruments, at the same frequency, there is not a perfect sine wave. You see the difference with guitar string? So there are a lot of other musical notes inside this musical notes. Okay? And that's the relationship to what I showed before. That so this wave here is composed of a lot of different waves. Okay? And each musical instrument will have, for the same musical note, a different shape here for the same frequency and a different harmonics or different frequency inside. And well, that's the same thing that I showed you before here. Okay. And in fact, you will have for a normal musical instrument, you will have for a single note, you will have what they call harmonics, so a lot of different frequencies that will come in the spectrum. So this is a single frequency. You see the difference between them? Okay. So that's do it again, the single frequency. Maybe I should. It would be easier like that. To show you. So here you are. It is a lot of musical notes, but which are in harmony. There is some coherence. There is some relationship between the notes. Okay. Now, if you're hearing musical notes which are not related with musical ratio or special ratio, harmony ratio, you get this. Okay? Yes, but we have this thing inside our body. So if we are measuring a single note or a single frequency inside our body, where is it? Here. In fact, we
Can you go again to the notes? That's very good.
again.
So
Okay.
normal.
So this is a specific. That's half note. Okay. But in fact, in life, in real life, you have, if you feel healthy and coherent, you will have a beautiful spectrum, different kind of notes which are related with musical ratio.
That's the I5.
And if you're, if your body is not coherent at all, you get this. Okay? That's the reason why we'll go one step forward and we'll see. So, okay, I will put again the.
Maybe
So,
I think it would be very helpful at some time that you'll define coherence. How do you define psychophysiological coherence? What's the definition from your standpoint?
it's a relationship between all the waves inside your body. If there is a golden ratio between all the frequencies inside your body, you're in coherent state.
You'll see it in a minute with this video. So watch this.
This, you see, there are a lot of pendulum. In a few slides before, I show you the beautiful cascade between the peaks. You see, there is also some kind of cascade between the sides of the pendulum. So the frequency of the pendulum depends on the size of the wire of the pendulum, of each pendulum, okay? And if you arrange all these pendulums with golden ratio, spatial ratio, okay, coherent ratio, and you will see, I will show you in the video, that you will see that normally that's what should be inside your body if your body is completely coherent and healthy. You will see that. They're exactly in the exact ratio, otherwise you couldn't get this. So it's very important to have this special musical ratio between all the frequency, all the waves which are inside your body. Okay?
So, excuse me, are those different pendula harmonics of one another? And they eventually settle in coherence?
Yeah, in fact, what you saw was that the second, the third, the fourth, actually in the way the pattern developed. I mean, actually, difference between a flashlight and a laser is that one frequency comes into coherence with itself. But in addition, what medical literature now proves is that harmonic inclusive coherence is actually what defines immune health. So the message from Irving Darvik is clear that harmonic inclusiveness predicts how long you're going to live and literally measures immune health. So harmonic inclusive coherence.
Okay? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about HRV. So let's take these examples of blood pulses, okay? And then we can display them in a different kind of way. If we take the time between two different pulses, we can draw a different way of graph, which will be called heart rate variation. So, and we would get some steps going up, going down, going up, going down. So just measuring the distance between the time or the distance between the two pulses. And in fact, there is a relationship between the breathing and the heart rate. Each time you breathe in, your heart rate grows, and each time you breathe out, your heart rate is less high. And so normally that's the reason why we are most of the apps which are measuring coherence or biofeedback are using breathing, because breath has a direct influence on heart rate. So in fact this is the importance of the spectrum, which is in a medical publication. What they have noticed, they made record of HRV like this, and so they took the spectrum of the HRV. And they noticed that when people were healthy, they got this kind of spectrum. They defined 3 different bands: very low frequency, and high frequency. Very low frequency is a frequency under 3 times per minute. Low frequency is between 3 and 9 cycles per minute, and higher frequency it's above 9 cycles per minute. I think it's easier to understand cycles per minute because it's more understandable for us than in hertz, because 0.1 hertz sometimes it's quite different to understand. And when people are not healthy, you see the LF peak, which is at 0.1 hertz or about 6 cycles per minute, is disappearing. It's completely flat. And so that's the reason why most of the biofeedback devices are trying to recover this part. And that's the reason why most of the application are trying to make you breathe at around 0.1 Hertz, just to recover this part of the spectrum.
The LF.
The LF part, yes. Okay. So this is a recording of an invasive blood pressure, so with a needle inside the vessel. And so they got this kind of wave. You know, this wave that Dan explained, which is, you have the pulses, and then you have a wave appearing and on this first pulses wave. And it's about 6 times per minute. And it was discovered by a guy who was called Mayer. So it has been called Mayer wave. And in fact, it's very interesting because in osteopathy, some kind of treatment of healing session is also to play or to catch this kind of wave, the same frequency wave. You can feel everywhere in the body, and if we make an interaction with this wave, you can heal the people. You can change things, you can reharmonize things, and in fact, it's very easy to understand why we can feel everywhere in the body, because there are a lot of very small vessels everywhere inside the body. And just to convince you that this is the foot of a horse, you see there are a lot of very, very small vessels. So each time, 6 times per minute, in average, there is a movement of pressure, so you can feel in the tissue. You have to learn how to feel. It's like to taste a good wine. It's practice, and here is very small movement, but you can learn to feel it with your hand also.
To feel what?
To feel this variation of small pressure inside all the.
Okay, in the hoof.
Hmm?
In the horse hoof.
In the body.
In the body. Okay.
I'm sure you can hear it in the horse as well.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And you place your finger or somewhere on the body, and then you can feel this small movement.
Not the most.
In osteopathy. And in fact, this is an example of just what I was saying. Wait. So you see, this is the wave, and in fact, if we zoom on this part of the body, you will see that according to this variation of pressure, the tissues will move also according to this variation of pressure. And this is a Mayer wave. So every living part in your body is moving all your life according to the embryology. So each organ was built with a lot of cells growing, but they are growing in a special shape to build the organ. And all your life, normally if your organ is healthy, it will have this movement 5 or 6 or 7 times per minute, going one way, going back the other way.
Maybe show your stomach.
It might be worth noting that the Mayer wave is at the center of the harmonic cascade of the famous sacrocranial spine liquid pump harmonics.
Yeah, we'll go next slide for the next slide then. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah. Well, in fact, if you take the stomach will have all your life. It should have this kind of movement, like a slide. How do you say in English?
A swing.
A swing. Like this. And if there is a problem on your stomach, it will be fixed, or it will go in one way and not coming back, or coming back a little bit, but not completely. And what osteopaths are doing is to play with this small movement and push it or or block it, or there are different techniques, but just working on this kind of wave. Okay, that's the reason why I was so interested to try to understand
So you
this
said
wave.
it's 5 to 6 per minute, like that? So
It's
movement?
between 5 and 7, it depends. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But
Which is your 0.1 hertz.
yeah, 0.1 hertz for that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you see, Dan showed this is this point here. Dan showed well, in fact, maybe to understand in another way, I display a different kind, but it's the same thing that Dan is shown on the previous slide. In fact, if you take this scale, it's very interesting because you have the first thing that which is interesting is that when you take the Schumann frequency, this is the same thing as the passing through alpha to theta waves. So when, in fact, when you are going to a lower frequency than the Schumann frequency, you're passing from alpha to theta. And if you go down this scale, you see that you will find the breathing of the children. It's about, well, I put it in cycles per minute and here in hertz, which is easier in cycles per minute for us. So you see that the respiration of the child is one of the step of the scale, and the adult respiration is the next one. And then some school of osteopathic feel a frequency of about 9-10 per minute. So they're working with this kind of wave. And other school of the osteopathic using the 6 cycles per minute. So you see, each time you go down one step of the scale, each time you are going to a different kind of frequency, which is a lower frequency. And the more you are going down, the more I will show you, and Dan explained about Dalek, the more you're working on slow wave, or the more you will have an influence of all the waves inside your body. And in fact, this 0.1 hertz frequency is also used for binaural beats, and so it's really a key in the frequency that can have an influence of everything in your body.
Again, phase conjugate negentropic charge collapse, pure implosion. That frequency cascade, yes. Beautiful.
Okay then. Okay, so Dalek is explaining that when you have, well, waves are waves waving. So with different frequency inside our body, but they are all linked together. I will show you. So if we have a small, a low frequency wave, so this one here, but the other one you see are embedded in this wave, and then you have small, it will be easier now on this slide here. So you see, if your longer wave, so the low frequency wave here in yellow is quite flat, the other waves are quite flat also, the higher frequency waves are quite flat also. But if you're increasing this low frequency wave, this is what's happening here, you see, you will have an influence of the other wave. And if you again increase the amplitude, you see, and all the waves inside our body can be influenced by the low frequency waves. That's the reason why when we are working on the 0.1 hertz wave, we have an influence on all of the waves in the body.
So isn't that, in my perspective, why the HRV, when you measure the heart, is the key in the body, because it influences all the other frequencies?
Yes, and Golden ratio solves the problem of perfect embeddability because it means the internal interference is all constructive, and that's internal coherence.
Yes.
Okay, to another way. So, in fact, what Dalek is explaining, the key is alternance of activity and rest. That's also what Dan showed here inside the heart pulses. There is a contraction, relaxation. And so there are, in fact, two peaks. And when you make the analysis, the spectrum of what's happening inside the heart rate, you will in fact measure the interaction between these two peaks, and you will see all of the harmonics coming, and if all these harmonics are related to special musical golden ratio, and this is coherence. So it's very important for to have an alternance of activity and rest.
Patrick?
Yes?
When you say they're related by the golden ratio, is that their amplitude is related or something in terms of their distance in time?
Well, in this picture of the QRS and T wave, that is golden ratio between yellow and blue, and that's distance in time, so which is obviously frequency. So perfect relaxation, the perfect QRS and T wave uses golden ratio because that is perfect relaxation. It allows the still point in.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so in fact, Dardek was an heart surgeon, and he had one of his friends was a marathon man, and a very high sportive guy, and he died, and Dardek didn't understood why, and so he tried to understand what, and that's what Dan explained this morning, that when you have a fixed activity or a fixed frequency, it's not good. The key of life is alternance of activity and rest, and the best, best healthy sportmen are sprinters, because they are giving a lot of activity for a short time, and then they rest, and then do it again, and then do it again. And in fact, if you're observing the nature, what's happening in the nature, and you go to a walk in a wood with your dog, and you watch him, you will run 100 meters, then stop, walk a little bit, and then run again, and then stop, walking a little bit. If you're looking at a child playing, little child playing, they will move a lot, and then they will rest a little bit, and then move a lot. They don't make marathon on a fixed. So this is really the key of the life.
But also, like when you look at dogs, when they play in 5 and then they stop.
Yeah.
It's funny, and then they do it again and they stop.
Yeah. That's what we should have in all our day, in all our life, and that's a problem that now we have to work 3 hours without stopping, and it's very bad, very, very bad. We have
And this really gives new meaning to the term variability. If you perfect the very concept of variability, you arrive at fractality based on golden ratio, which is the perfect form of coherence.
So you remember I saw you how Dan measured the coherence, but it was according to the raw electrical pulses of the heart rate. And what Armat is doing is making an analysis of the HRV, so it's a little bit different. Okay, this is raw data, the pulses, the raw data of the heart pulses, and what we are doing now, and that's also what we are doing with our app, is making some analysis of HRV. So we don't have the direct information from the pulses. We are analyzing the variation of the heart rate. Okay? Okay? So what they are looking is to see the size of this peak here. That's what Armat is looking for. Well, I'll explain the RSA, okay? And so they are measuring only one single peak in the LF band. And to measure the size of the single peak in the LF band, you have to breathe at a fixed frequency with a pacer. But a fixed frequency, as we said, is not physiology, because everything in nature and in life is not at a fixed frequency. If you take, there are 4 seasons in 1 year, but one winter is not the same as the previous one, and will not be the same as the next one. But every year you will have 4 seasons, and inside our bodies it's the same for the waves. So when we say the sacropcranial wave or the Mayo wave is about 0.1 Hertz, for some people it will be 5 cycles per minute, for other people it will be 6, for other people it will be 7, but it will not be exactly 5 or 6 or exactly 7. It will be a wave waving around a fixed frequency. So if we make a record of 10 minutes, the first minute will be 5.2, the second minute will be 4.9, the next minute will be 5.3, okay? But always around a fixed frequency. But with HeartMath, what HeartMath is asking you to do is to breathe during, well, let's say 10 minutes or 20 minutes, but at a real fixed frequency, which will be 6 cycles per minute. But if you don't do it, if you don't use this pacer to get this fixed frequency, you will get, the problem is that you will get a peak which will be larger, because you're turning around a fixed frequency and not exactly at a fixed frequency. But if your peak is larger, it will be less higher also, because it will be reduced in size, because it will be larger. So
It'll be more bell shapes.
yes, okay. And even, well, that's just what I said, even craniosacral wave, this is a record of a sacrocranial wave. It's not fixed, it's moving all the time, but the average is turning around a fixed frequency. So, yeah, okay, that's what I said. So that's the reason why we introduce, like Dan has done it with the raw data of the heart rate, we try to do something in the same way with the HRV. And so we take into account all the frequency of the spectrum. You remember the musical notes? If you're analyzing, if one note is there, okay, you will, if you find it, you say it's okay. That's what HeartMath is doing. But we are analyzing if it sounds good to our ear or not. Okay, you remember? So what we have done is the same thing, but instead of doing of the raw data of the pulses, the electric pulses, we have done the same kind of analysis, but from HRV. And we get also a peak. And the size of this peak is the same thing, that the size of this peak is related to the coherence of the whole spectrum. So it takes into account all the peaks which are coming in the spectrum. So it takes, and you can see if there are beautiful musical orchestra inside of you, or if all the instruments are very bad. You follow the difference?
Yes, we would.
Okay, it's very important. This is a big deal. So with our app, you don't need to breathe at a fixed frequency to see if you're coherent or not. So it means that if you're really relaxed and try to breathe, and you can catch it easily. Once you have tried several times to do it, you will catch this lower wave inside your body. And if you are breathing on your own low frequency wave, your own Mayo wave, it will be much physiology, because you can have 5.2 cycles the first minute, you can have 5.5 the second minute, you can add 4.9 the next minute. But our app will analyze the relationship between all the peaks in the spectrum and will tell you if you're coherent or not.
So what's the main aim for practicing that way? What do you want your client to achieve by that?
To see your presence to yourself, and how all the waves inside your body is playing a symphony or not.
What does that allow the client to do? What's the higher purpose with that, or what can you use that?
Well, remember, the medical literature was clear that harmonic inclusiveness quantifies immune health directly. That's the new information from Darvik. So obviously you can't measure harmonic inclusiveness by using a single FFT looking for one frequency. But I did a second order FFT, power spectrum of a power spectrum, with the EKG, and now Patrick is doing a third order power spectrum, frequency signature to frequency signature to frequency signature, to measure internal phase coherence, which allows harmonic inclusiveness in our HRV measure. So we don't need to prove that harmonic inclusiveness quantifies immune health. Darvik did that for us. All we did is develop the mathematics to make it measurable.
Does it answer your question?
No, not quite. So I was thinking about, I understand the mathematics behind it, and I understand this is not a critical question at all. It's more of a functional question. When you have your client find this the low frequency wave, find that. What does that allow the client to do? What can he use?
Let's give one example.
The connections to health benefits or things like that.
Yes. Patrick, for example, included the perfection of harmonic inclusive breath, which is called a caduceus breath, where you do perfect damping in breathing, which is actually golden ratio harmonic inclusive breathing. And when you come to the still point at the end of harmonic inclusive breathing, called the caduceus breath, you almost invariably induce a bliss moment, euphoria, and you very often induce the sacrocranial still point. So that's one example of breathing at harmonic inclusiveness, the caduceus breath, producing literally a euphoria moment.
Yeah. I think what you are asking for, so what people can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
There are different kind of answers, because they sometimes. I played a lot with the app during 1 year testing it, and so I made a lot of record on myself. And sometimes it's quite amazing, because some days I make a record and I think, well, today I'm pretty fine, and then I got very bad results. And the other day I don't feel quite well, and I make a record and I get beautiful coherence inside. So sometimes you're lying to yourself, but the app doesn't lie. And so it's quite interesting. One of the things is quite interesting to help people to make contact with themselves inside of you, because we are in a civilization where it's not possible to get access anymore to emotion. A lot of people cannot explain how they feel, and this way of making the small practices, small exercises, help you to make a connection to yourself, to your emotion, and this is one thing. The other thing is that you can have, but I will show you in the next slide, you can make a record today and then compare to the previous day and to previous month and things like that, and show graph. And so you can see your evolution during time also. And
And Patrick, use just one other quick example that might be fun here. If, when the paper by Eric Goldberger, Healthy Heart is a Fractal Heart, is the academic proof of harmonic inclusiveness. Now, but understand what that means in terms of compassion. That literally, if your heart is only inviting in one frequency, it's literally more than symbolic equivalent to saying, I can feel for only one kind of other people. Whereas if your heart can invite in inclusive harmonics, and the perfection of how many that can be included is perfected by golden ratio. So the more harmonics you can include in your heart, literally, the more other kinds of people you can feel. And I will give a practical example of that. Is I had we were doing this heart coherence measure on an athlete. We actually, a lot of athletes develop a very low heart rate, but his low heart rate was relatively fixed. And he was actually having relationship problems because you find it difficult to bond to other people unless their heart rate can lock with yours. So if your heart rate isn't harmonically inclusive, it literally limits how many people you can feel for.
So this has a psychological process connection?
Yes, literally.
Relationship, conflict resolution, well, for couple counseling, if they can't communicate, could be just because of the physiology. And they learn how to breathe together, coherence happens, and then suddenly they can communicate better.
So have you studied brain function in relationship to this stillness point? Or is that something you've done? Or
It is provable that if your heart rate is stuck, you also are stuck in terms of how many people you can bond with. And I'm sure that's true of brainwaves. We haven't measured it, but it's the same thing. Harmonic inclusive brainwaves fit that cascade. So.
Yeah. I think we follow.
I'll give it isn't it a little bit. Okay, we compared to the HeartMath, we have a more complex and more authentic way of showing your coherence. With this app, that's what you're telling us.
Yes.
Yes. And from here, how do we apply it? How do we use it in the best way in the market and for the client?
Yeah. So we're getting to that, but I'll give you two examples from my life. So I meditate on a regular basis, and now with the app, it's very easy to measure. So obviously I can, I've been doing it for many years, but I can look at a record of meditation when there was a full moon, because obviously part of the thing shows you the phases of the moon. So I was interested what's happening, if there are other influences. Obviously, at some point we can actually put also solar sort of activity and stuff like that to see how that changes you. Also, I played with simple thing that, lying down and aligning myself north and south makes a difference, to my coherence. Little things like that. But also I measured it for the night, and I noticed that, I thought I was resting a lot at night, but actually because I'm sometimes lucid dream and lots of things happen in my mind, my coherence was very low for my sleep. But during the day, when I was doing other little things, or even kind of, doing something on a computer, my coherence was better. And that gives you a lot of useful information to, that I would never have, because, we're not in touch with our bodies anymore as such. So loads of potential for all kinds of measurements, but mainly for stress reduction and performance basically. So with sports people, they can use the stress chart because that's probably the most easiest way to measure when you're moving. Yeah, they can check all kinds of things. People playing golf and other things. So the applications are almost endless. So we get into the application. We'll talk about and we'll let you to play with this. But let's get on with the presentation.
Because Patrick is going to show us how it's applied.
Yeah. In fact, I saw you before that we can create this green wave with 3 different waves, and then we get peaks. But it's also possible to do the other way with a new mathematical Fourier transform and redraw the wave which are inside the complex wave. So, and that's what we have done with the app. So this is the HRV here, and then you can get the different parts, the different bands with composing the spectrum, which can be defined as wave. So you can see when if you take the sacrocranial wave, you can see when there is an expansion or the opposite in the
Contraction.
movement, contraction. Okay. So this is so the app automatically display all these waves, and here, well, there is in blue the LF of the HRV, and in yellow the PPG, so the pressure wave. Every musical note is related to a special frequency. What we can do also is to extract all the frequency, to make a record and extract all the frequency which are coming in the record. This is all the musical notes which are coming during a night. You see, the different part of the night have different musical notes or different shapes. Okay, what's interesting also, because we can make a night record with a Pole orchestra, and in fact there are different sleep stages and different cycles during the night, and one of the most important thing is the stage 3 and stage 4, which are called deep sleep stages. And during this if you are missing this part of your night, you feel depressed, you have a lot of problems, because this is a very recovering part.
There's a lot of research, and also most population now, they never get into deep sleep. And that's, more and more information coming out how deep sleep is important, it's critical.
And it's really related to stress also. So it's a good indicator of stress. And this is a recording a display of the recording of our app, of the night record, and you see, it's a special analysis, special ratio, but between the different band of the spectrum, but it's quite a good indicator.
So the blue. This is not HRV. This is something else, right?
This is what's happening during the night. It's a special analysis which is using specific ratio of the different bands which are appearing in the spectrum.
But it's not HRV data. It's something
yes,
else.
it's HRV data at the beginning, but we are using HRV data and extracting things from HRV just to.
Is this like is in RMSSD? Is that one?
No,
random
it's
deviation?
No. It's in fact there are different studies. Well, I put the reference. In fact, they have seen that in some stage of the sleeping of the night, there are some part of the spectrum which are higher or lower. Okay, and the part which are related, the part of the spectrum which are related to the stage 3 and stage 4,
Right.
it's the VLF is lower than in other sleep stages,
Right.
and the HF is higher. So we are looking at the power of the different part of the spectrum, make a comparison, and from this we draw a curve.
Yes.
During the night, and the lower part of the curve is related to the deep sleep, and you will see that this is a night with a lot of deep sleep here, with less deep sleep here, and in fact the iPhone has also a possibility of analyzing movement. So you place your iPhone on your bed, and you can record all the movement during the night. You see, and here, these are the movement of your body during the night, and this is the way that we are analyzing the night. And you see that this is lower movement here, and you see there is deep sleep also. There is a good correlation between both of them. Okay, and it's quite interesting because I've tested also. You know what is yoga nidra?
What?
It's Yeah, it's yoga nidra. No, never heard about. It's a special yoga that you're going to a lucid dream while forgetting completely all your body. So only your mind is awake, but you're losing all your body is completely sleeping. It's a practice you have to do a lot of time before achieving it. But here when I have compared 1 hour of yoga nidra, which is this shape here, with part of a night record, and you see that this is the same shape of musical notes which are coming. It's quite interesting. Well, and this is here the evolution of the deep sleep part during a month. So you can see also the way that you're sleeping is also a good indicator of stress. So this is one way to make to follow what's happening inside your body. Another way is also can be to make every day to take about 15 minutes of a relaxing state. You sit on a chair or just relaxing a maximum, and during this relaxation time we will get the lowest heart rate, and this is also a good indicator of your stress level, because the less your stress, the less will be your heart rate, and so you can see also from one day to the other evolution. Okay, so that's what.
It's important to note that I think really Patrick is to be congratulated here for these for implementing this so well in HRV study. You know, Patrick took the information that LF-VLF-HF ratio indicated deep sleep and implemented it, and we all know that actually the lucid dreaming capability that comes from access to deep sleep is not just a Star Trek episode, it's also literally the definition of spiritual evolution, because it means your aura is projecting coherently. Lucid dreaming, access. Well, just in other words, Patrick learned from the literature that LF-VLF-HF ratio is how you measure access to deep sleep. And there's a famous Star Trek episode where people weren't getting their deep sleep. Not only was everybody getting grouchy, but actually your ability to lucid dream directly predicts your ability to plasma project, which we all know lucid dreaming access predicts how well you will go through death, for example, not just become a shaman. So it's a very good indicator of spiritual evolution, is the coherence of your dream, all which starts with access to deep sleep. So it's very important. What Patrick's working on here, I think, is fabulous. I applaud Patrick's work here.
But basically, I'm sure you've had an experience. You didn't have a good sleep, you're grumpy. It's like the day. If you get good sleep, your day goes nice. But if you're not sleeping well, and usually it's because you don't have the deep sleep. Yeah, so.
And before, overnight sleep analysis used to be very expensive, as Jan discovered, like the 2-hour BBC episode, and we're making that available. It's wonderful.